Hello, hello. Welcome to the launch of AvoPod Live, the video segment of our podcast where we got two 50-something men, because I'm 50-something.
And I'm 50-something.
And together we know a little something. We're going to try to bridge the gap between baby boomers and Gen Z. And today what we wanted to do was bring on live part of the Gen Z population, my child, Jahari Jenkins. Welcome to the show.
And my handsome son, Elijah Hubbard. Appreciate y'all coming on.
Yes. Thank you so much. And we've got a studio audience here. Kathy Hubbard.
Thank you.
Even though we don't see her.
She's here.
She's there.
Lurking
and supporting us. Directing. Hovering. Helicoptering. Welcome, everyone. Let's jump right in because we're going to have a format of 15 minutes for our interview guests, and then we'll have a format of 15 minutes where Mike and I just talk about what's on our brains, and then we'll do a shorter segment introducing you to a local business.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. We want to highlight and support some local businesses that we know.
Absolutely. So this initial, original, first premiere segment of AvoPod brought to you by Lee Coleman Travel.
Post-pandemic travel. She can hook y'all up.
Yeah, she definitely can. We'll have her on a little bit later so she can tell you actually what she's doing. We don't mess it up. But thank you for being our initial sponsor. Feel free to contact us. Any businesses out there that want to sponsor a segment, you will definitely get some advertisement with us and hopefully grow your business. So let's jump right in, Mike.
Let's go.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Ken.
And go ahead.
I'm Ken, and that's Mike.
I was early.
That's okay. Timing. No, I'm Ken. I'm 50-something, and I've got two kids, and one of the things that I know I need to do better at is understanding this younger generation.
And I'm Mike. I got two sons. And the same thing, just we really hope we, out of this, can start to relate a little better. You know, they're adults now, but we still want to understand each other and be able to communicate effectively. So,
and I think the good dichotomy is that you've got two sons.
Right.
And I have two daughters.
Totally different.
So we're going to get different perspectives from a male and female point of view. They'll probably meet somewhere in the middle, but I'm pretty sure some of them will be drastically different.
I can imagine they would be.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump right in. Mr. Elijah Hubbard, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm doing good.
I see you looking bright and chipper. Got your hair did. Mama said get your hair did. That's all right. Mike, you want to lead off with
Yeah, my first question is going to be, you know, we are, this past year, racial tensions and things like that have really been kind of at the forefront. You know, we had pandemic 1, social issues 1A. So as a Gen Zer, and both of you guys have very diverse groups of friends, and I'm just wondering how are these discussions and these issues talked about in your peer groups and, you know, some of your non-Black friends? Do you guys have those discussions? Is that even an issue with you guys?
Well, okay, yeah. Well, I would say after the summer, you know, especially the eventful summer that we had, I think that with me and my friend group, like we talk about the social issues way more now. Like, you know, it's probably like something that we talk about like every day, honestly, like at this point.
give us an example. What kind of social issues do you talk about?
I mean, okay, well, I'll say like before the pandemic or before the summer, we never talked about, just like political, just like party issues, and afterwards, and with the election, um, we just talked about the different like platforms that the candidates were running on. Um, so like stuff like that, just more like political. Just yeah. After the summer, it became something that we talked about like every day, pretty much. Just debating like different like party platforms and stuff like that. Um, and not even like arguments, just like conversation. Um, because we're all like super like tapped into like social media, so we're all seeing all this stuff like brought up every day. So like we'll like send each other like tweets or something about like like one candidate or another, and then we just talk about it.
So
But
Johari, do
I
you
would say,
find yourself doing the same thing, talking more about political issues now as opposed to pre-pandemic, or just in general? Maybe your generation is just more plugged into the political scene than ours.
oh yeah, no, I mean for me personally, and I've told Michael
He's talking about you.
I don't know.
He
You talking
referred.
about me?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He calls you Michael.
No, he don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just a little old school.
I am too.
No, but yeah, no,
Michael.
like we talked about
Michael.
after
Shocker. Go ahead. Sorry.
Progressive household.
No, we're not. Go ahead.
uh,
Sorry.
we've talked about like after like before the summer and like and the pandemic started and everything that went on. I was I mean I was paying attention to what was going on like politically and socially, and but my knowledge of everything was like super surface level. Um, and afterwards, like after like around like August, I would say, I started to get like super like tapped into everything and actually like reading about like different like ideologies and stuff like that, um and then really like looking into to everything like politically, like candidates and stuff like that.
So you've become
Yeah.
more plugged into the political scene. Let's let our resident psychologist, newly graduated from LSU with a degree in psychology and marketing, put us all on the couch for a minute. What say you, Johari?
Um, I'd say that me and my friends don't necessarily talk about the political side of it as much as the social side of it. Um, just as far as like everything going on socially, from Karens to the BLM movement, to wearing masks. I think that's kind of more what we talked about. Um, but we kind of always talked about social issues before this past year, but definitely more now. Um, Probably not as in tune with the political aspect of it as we should be, which I feel like a lot of my generation isn't as in tune with that, or maybe they are, and I'm just not, as Elijah has pointed out. But I think we focus more on the social than the political.
Okay, looks like that SMU education is a lot better than LSU education. Elijah's much more plugged into what's going on. So when you guys say plugged in, so it sounds to me like on Elijah's side, it's more unplugged into the platform, the different ideologies, the different positions, and Jahar's like unplugged into how all of that stuff is affecting us socially.
Right. And which kind of leads me to another question related regarding activism and I know in our generation, activism was, protesting, voting, basically. But I watched, what was the movie with Fred Hampton?
Fred had
Judas.
Judas and the Black Messiah, or
Right,
something like
right.
that.
And what
Yeah,
struck me was, he was 21 at the time of his death. And his form of activism was more organizing, community, related things, taking care of the community. So for you guys, what does activism mean to your generation? I mean, what does it look like? Either one of you can jump into that, answer that. Or is that even a thing for you guys?
Don't answer all at once.
No, that's a good question. I mean, I think like there's more ways to perform activism. I guess that's like the right way to say it. But
So give me an example. So I'm Pacific, right, as opposed to Atlantic. So I'm going to be specific. Specific. We marched in our generation, right? Sat in, boycotted. What does your generation consider the way to be an activist, the way to effect social or political change nowadays? Is it still kind of the old school stuff, or is it new wave?
I mean, I think everybody is an activist in their own way. I mean, you still obviously have people protesting, and with the Black Lives Matter movement, a lot of young people are out there starting those movements and posting online. I think is another form of activism nowadays. So I think everybody kind of has their own way that they're helping the movement. Personally, I've never been to a protest, never actually gone out to protest. I'm not a big social media person, so I don't really post a lot of things online, but I think my form of activism is through education, just by making sure that my sphere, those around me, white or black, are aware. And, I think that's my form of activism.
Everyone's an activist in their own way. That's deep.
That is.
That's deep. What will you do, Elijah?
yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I like over the summer, like I went to my first protest, the like Black Lives Matter march in downtown.
You did?
But like besides that,
You let him go to that?
what was
Yeah. You mama? You were okay with that? I'd have been a nervous wreck. I'm sorry.
He's a boy.
We are always distracted by stuff, just so you know. So I'm sorry, Elijah. You were at a Black Lives Matter rally downtown. Go ahead.
yeah. But besides that, I haven't like gone out and in protests or anything like that. But like, I know a lot of my friends, like they'll post stuff online, like on Instagram. They'll post like stories, like infographics and stuff like that. Which I think that's a good way to just spread knowledge, But yeah, I think that's like the main form of activism now, which I think is good. Just spreading information, just like making sure people see it. Yeah.
Education
Yeah.
is the new form of activism.
Yeah. Knowledge is power.
I like that.
I do too.
I like that. So here's a question. Speaking of the new form of activism, do you guys think that your parents, the baby boomer generation, have done a really good job preparing you guys or paving the way for you guys in just how life is presenting itself to you, and challenges that you've had? And I'm not talking about did Mike or your dad. I'm not talking about that he did a good job for you and you guys had. I'm talking about in universally, have we done a good enough job in preparing you guys for the future? And you're not going to hurt our feelings.
I think to an extent. I mean, I think a lot of what we go through now, or what younger generations are living through now, you guys y'all generation couldn't have even prepared us for, because you wouldn't have ever imagined we'd be here.
Like the pandemic.
Which I don't, like a pandemic and just social issues that are big now that weren't as big for you guys when you guys were younger, that you probably didn't talk about, or a lot of older people don't talk about, that's really important to younger generations.
Give us
I
an
think that
example.
it's just a different. I say probably the biggest example would be like LGBTQ rights, which is a big thing for I know a lot of people in my generation and younger, and just the whole movement of being different and pronouns. And I don't even want to talk about it that much because I'm afraid to offend somebody.
Right.
But it's there's a whole other movement that I think that wasn't at the forefront of y'all's minds or y'all's generation's minds, that is at the forefront of ours. So I feel like that's a kind of gap that you just couldn't have prepared us for, socially, which I don't think that's a fault. I just feel like times are different and you can't always prepare for unexpected times.
What say you, Mr. Elijah?
Yeah, I would agree. Like, there's nothing like y'all could have done to, to prepare for what we're in right now. Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like I was pretty uh, well prepared, but yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
You did a good job, Mike.
Thank you. I did my best. We did our best.
You guys did a great job. You
Yeah.
guys did a phenomenal job. Yeah. What else you got, Mike?
One question I have for you guys. Since March of last year, Ken and I basically, our situations are pretty similar. We pretty much been quarantined for a year. And we've handled it pretty well.
Mike is my only friend.
So
Mike and Kathy are my only friends.
yeah, sure. But our social needs are probably much different from you guys. So my question is, how have you guys coped during a pandemic in a time in your life where socializing and networking and interacting is so crucial and such a big part of your lives? I mean, you graduated during a pandemic, which was probably not what you envisioned. And I just want to know, how have you guys managed to cope, besides excessive drinking and things like that? But how mentally, spiritually, how have you guys managed to cope through all of this?
Disclaimer, we as parents do not promote excessive drinking
don't.
in our children.
No, we don't.
But we just keeping it real.
Right.
I mean, I would say how we've coped with the pandemic is
Just the whole isolation aspect of it.
okay. I mean, well, like all of my friends, we all live on our own, so like but like my friend group personally, like, we don't like go out a lot, like since March, so we'll just like stay together, and just knowing that like everybody is going through it, like makes it, makes it a little better to cope with. But yeah, so I honestly, like, I feel, I've definitely had moments where I'm like, dang, like, like I miss like going out and being with a lot of people. But like when you have like a little friend group who's just all kind of, it makes it a lot better. Yeah, and then also just like, like Zooming with friends or something like that, or just doing like outdoor, like safe activity. That makes it a lot better too. But honestly, like, I feel like I've handled it pretty well for the past year. Just being with like my friends, like in a safe environment.
What would you say was the most challenging part for you?
I would say the most challenging part, and like I'm still going through it, is and my friends are going through it too, is just trying to get into the job market, and and some of my friends even have jobs and they're working from home, and they don't like it. Like it makes it a lot less enjoyable.
Do you think that's
Yeah, just
due
having them.
to the pandemic, or just in general? It's just
No, no, yeah. Affected by the pandemic. Like last this time last year, I was interviewing with the Stars, the Dallas Stars, um, and I felt really good about it. Like they invited me to a second interview, and then the pandemic hit, and they're like, okay, like we're not hiring anymore. Um, and that's so like the pandemic has affected um, the job market a lot, and a lot of my friends are going through it, and that just a lot of added stress. Um,
and
Trying to
you've
figure out.
still got a little ways to go, right? Maybe 1 year left.
No, he's graduating in May.
He's graduating. So you're graduating in May. So you're getting a pretty good head start, and even now you're finding it a little difficult.
Yeah,
Good. Well,
Yeah.
interesting. Jahar, you graduated last December, right?
Yeah.
What do you find
So
is the most
2 months
challenging
ago.
thing that you've been going through?
I don't know. I'd say during school, I was kind of like Elijah. Like I had roommates, and all of my friends were kind of isolated together. So I feel like we weren't by ourselves, which made that a little easier. Um, and then, graduating was hard, not being able to walk across the stage. That's a big monumental occasion. So that was kind of hard to just, you can't really do that. Um, I'd say though that our generation is, I think, used to connecting with each other online already, because that's kind of what we do through social media. And so I think that it's definitely more drastic than it used to be, but I think we were not as shocked by having to do everything online as
Hmm.
probably an older generation was, since that's how we've always really connected with each other is through online. Um, I think that uh, I got really lucky as far as graduating and through my job search. I was really lucky with that. Um, I'd say the hardest part for me now is that now that I'm graduated and back home and working, is that I'm not around my friends anymore. That's probably the hardest part. Is now I feel probably more isolated than I did all 2020.
But what was interesting though was that you were saying the adjustment to what's been going on over the last year, this pandemic, was probably harder on us, our generation, than it was on your generation because you guys were used to virtual, communication and virtual interaction and Zoom and all what. For me, Zoom was a song by the Commodores,
Ha ha.
right? Zoom, I like to fly. Do you guys know who the Commodores were? Lionel Richie, yes.
Yeah, Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie bridging the gap.
For real.
He bridging the gap for real.
We'll talk about him
We'll talk
later.
about him another time. But that's a great point. That's a great point that the transition was probably more difficult for us.
I think so. A lot of our generation doesn't particularly embrace the technology, and we kind of were forced to. So I think so. But for them, I would imagine though not having that social element of college life
Yeah, that's got to be difficult.
was hard.
Well, I feel like we both kind of had that though. I mean, we weren't freshmen going into the pandemic. We had like 2 or 3, 4 years already in that social life. So
yeah,
I think coming in as like starting college during that time would suck because you can't do anything. How do you meet people? A lot of people are still like living at home, just going online. But I think having a couple years in already, we well, for me at least, it wasn't as hard socially because you've already kind of connected socially with people.
That's interesting. So you just kind of made the cutoff,
Right.
so to speak, before it got really,
Yeah.
really serious. And I tell you, it was probably harder for me not to have her walk and have a
Right.
graduation ceremony than it was for Jahari.
Yeah.
Are they planning to do a graduation ceremony at SMU?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that something you guys think you'll participate in?
Oh, you definitely.
Okay. Well, good.
Like I said, that's kind of, the culmination of a journey
Yeah.
that you look forward to, Yeah.
And I was looking forward to acting a fool too,
I bet you were
yelling and screaming with some clappers.
in the bayou.
And
Yeah.
Jahari, I think you turned your mute button on, but
Yeah.
that's interesting.
It is. On another note, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. You and I, we make it clear out, we are men of faith.
Right.
God, Christ is a big part of our lives,
Absolutely.
For you guys, you both grew up in church, but as adults, how do you all view the church and religion, and how important is that to you at this point in your lives and for your generation period?